Aussie Beach TV. You're watching Aussie Beach TV. You're watching Aussie Beach TV. The hottest girls you will ever see.
What are your thoughts on the Schapelle Corby case and film Expendable TV?
Yeah, look, Schapelle is it's one of those really sad, heartbreaking topics.
Yeah.
That I mean, a lot of our listeners, a lot of our viewers here will be familiar. But let me just reiterate the basics of the case. Schapelle Corby, a young Australian woman, at the age of about 27, went over to Bali in 2004 with her family for a great holiday, and they went to just lie on the beach, do some surfing. She took her boogie board in a little boogie board bag, and her sister was married to a Balinese, and they were planning to meet her sister over there and have a fantastic holiday. Instead, what happened was, when she arrived at the airport, the boogie board bag, which her brother picked up off the luggage rack, was found to be containing 4.2 kilograms of fairly concentrated marijuana. And that's a massive amount. I mean, you can imagine that's a large weight in itself. And it became huge news in Australia overnight. She protested her innocence from the beginning, from the very beginning, and she asked the Indonesians to do fingerprint checks on the bag, because she said that bag, that plastic bag full of marijuana in her boogie board bag, was not hers. She insisted someone else had put it there. And, you know, the popular opinion at the time, and she's a young, quite a beautiful woman as well, and that did help her get the publicity. But the consensus of opinion was, you wouldn't bring that much marijuana to a place like Bali because it's so cheap there, right? It's about 1/5 to 1/10 the price there of what it is here. And from what I've read in the study I've done, the amount she brought in would net you easily $40,000 in Australia, wholesale prices, right? At street price, cutting it up to small amounts, probably 60 or 80 easily, right? But at least 40,000. Now, in Bali, you'd be lucky to get $4 for that amount of marijuana. Why would you do it? It didn't make any sense. She, of course, said she was innocent. She had no criminal background. And she said someone else must have put it there. Now, it's a long story. I probably don't have time to go into the whole series of very unfortunate things that transpired. She tried to get CCTV footage from the airports from both Bali and from Brisbane. She was from the Gold Coast. She travelled from Brisbane through Sydney to Bali, and she wanted to get CCTV footage that would show her carrying that boogie board bag. And if it had an extra 4 kilos in it, it would have been extra heavy. And it would have been a very good case, either for the prosecution or the defence. If she was guilty, that footage would have shown her she was lumbering with this big heavy bag, right?
Yeah.
Well, mysteriously, the CCTV footage disappeared. It wasn't available in Sydney, wasn't available in Brisbane, and it wasn't available in Bali. The Indonesians refused to fingerprint the bags, so there was no fingerprint. It turns out there was no forensic evidence whatsoever to tie Schapelle to that bag. And of course, to pursue a case, to win a case here in Australia, you do need to have more than circumstantial evidence. Because, you know, a lot happened between when she put the bag on the check-in at the airport and when she picked it up at the other end in Bali. It went through 2 airports, it went through a lot of different baggage handling areas in Sydney and Brisbane and Bali. And someone could have slipped something in. And that was the theory that she proposed. Now, it all came out within about 6 months of Schapelle's arrest that in fact there was a massive drug smuggling operation that was going on within the airports, and baggage handlers were being used to move drugs from city to city. They were taking it in. They were corrupt baggage handlers that were working for drug cartels. The drugs were coming in through the back door in the bag of the luggage handler. Then they put them in someone's passenger luggage in one end, pull them out at the other end. And there were people who came forward to verify that this was the case, but some of them lacked credibility. Some of them were prisoners. But there was one high-profile guy who came out and spoke on the news, and he actually was flown by the government up to Bali to testify on Schapelle's behalf but because he was a convicted felon, his testimony was completely struck from the record and was completely useless to Schapelle. A lot of information subsequently came out that there were high-level government reports, insider reports that proved this was happening, but the government never released that to Schapelle's defence, and the media played it down. And here's where we get to the really, really sad and tragic part, because there was a huge popular support for Schapelle, but it started to affect Australia's relationship with Indonesia. The Indonesian government, there were death threats coming through. There were people who were saying, she was set up in Indonesia. The diplomatic relations were in trouble. There was a bomb scare at the Indonesian embassy. It turned out it was just harmless white powder, but there was a bomb scare at the Indonesian embassy. So suddenly, what we saw in the media was there was a change. After having been very supportive of Schapelle for about 6 months, suddenly the media started changing their tone, and various reports came through. Like, one was a report about many people coming from Australia to Bali to sell marijuana, and it was just an unsubstantiated report by a journalist from the major newspaper. We've got a bit of a southerly blowing in here, unfortunately.
Do you want to come this way?
Yeah, being attacked by a tree. So we had reports from unsubstantiated journalists from major newspapers saying that people were coming from Australia to Bali, selling drugs on the streets of Bali. We had reports leaking through that Schapelle's family had been involved in drugs. And again, none of this was substantiated, but one of Schapelle's friends went on television on a major network here and said that Schapelle's sister had been involved in selling drugs. Now, it turned out that this girl was paid $100,000 by the television company, Channel 7, and the family sued Channel 7 because they said it was all defamation. They said it was all complete lies. But it took 2 years for that lawsuit to go through. Meanwhile, Schapelle was convicted and lost her appeal as well. And then about 2 years later, the defamation case finally went to court, and Schapelle's family won, and they won a massive settlement because not one of the claims that Channel 7 had made was substantiated.
That is such a sad story. It's unbelievable.
And she's still in prison now.
Yeah.
And she's mentally ill. She's suffered tremendous stress, and she's not well. But it's been 8 years. It's been over 8 years now.
Yeah, it's a devastating story. Hopefully something will get done about it soon.
Aussie Beach TV. You're watching Aussie Beach TV. You're watching Aussie Beach TV.
Corby Expendable TV project is something you have spoken about before. Can you tell us the new evidence surrounding the case and a little bit about the production as well, please?
Well, the production was done by someone that was not me. I just promoted it a lot. The evidence surrounding the Schapelle Corby case clearly shows that it should have been investigated a lot better. I mean, it would appear there's a massive cover-up in the Schapelle Corby case. You can go to a website called expendable.tv and you can find it for yourself. I mean, it's all there. The amount of evidence that shows that this woman is innocent is phenomenal. And there's so much of it there on the website that it's impossible for me to even tell you in a short interview. I suggest that people go and look for themselves. But suffice to say, there is a conclusive amount of evidence to show that not only is she innocent, but there were extraordinary steps taken by both the Australian media machine, the Australian Federal Police and people very high up within the Australian government to ensure that she was convicted. Because had she been found innocent, it very likely would have brought the system down. It would have caused an investigation into airport security, and this could have all been linked directly back to Australian Federal Police and government.
Well, not necessarily to ensure that she was convicted, but to also ensure that she had no evidence to prove of her innocence either, because every time she went and requested for evidence, it was either destroyed or it went missing or she wasn't granted it.
Exactly. They went to extraordinary steps. And even people who came out and claimed possession of the drugs and said, no, it was mine, I was supposed to pick it up. They discredited him, said, no, he's a criminal. You can't believe him.
Exactly.
But he claimed possession. I mean, of course he's a criminal. He was smuggling drugs. I mean, did they expect a businessman to claim possession? I mean, what is this? What sort of a logic is that? That they could even use that? And more surprisingly, that the people would buy it. Oh, he was a criminal. We can't believe him. Well, of course he was a criminal. That's why he was smuggling drugs.
Full of a lot of oxymorons these days, so unfortunately.
Oh, it's just, it's phenomenal. I mean, I highly recommend that people go and watch it. Expendable.tv. Watch the film. I mean, it's not the best production, but they tried.
The truth behind
they
it is
tried,
what people
and
need to see.
the information contained in the film is dynamite. It really is, and it exposes very, very high levels of corruption within the Australian government and collusion by the media and the police. And I mean, everybody really should go and check it out.
Aussie Beach TV. You're watching Aussie Beach TV.
I've got a message for you, Australia. It's time to turn off your TV, stop buying the newspapers, and switch on to Aussie Beach TV. You never know what you might learn.
You're watching Aussie Beach TV. The hottest girls you will ever see. Aussie Beach TV. You're watching Aussie Beach TV.